Every morning, millions of people start their day with a simple habit, grabbing a spoon of something, sitting quietly in their kitchen, completely unaware that this one small action could trigger changes inside the body that no drug in modern medicine fully replicates. For thousands of years, Mediterranean civilizations have relied on this golden liquid as part of daily life, not as a trend, but as something essential to health and longevity. Now, modern science is beginning to uncover what those ancient cultures seemed to understand long before laboratories existed. This is far more than just cooking oil. It behaves like a biological switch that can influence inflammation, heart health, metabolism, and even long term aging. Recent large scale research, including findings from the well known pre-dime study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, has brought serious attention to this idea. In that research, people who consumed extra virgin olive oil daily experienced up to a 30% reduction in major cardiovascular events. That is not a minor improvement. It is a shift that challenges how prevention in modern medicine is usually understood. But what makes this even more striking is not just the long term benefit, it is how quickly the body begins to respond. Changes do not take months or years to begin. In some cases, measurable biological shifts can start within just 24 hours, and by the end of a single week, the body may enter a state that supports healthier aging in ways most people never expect from something as simple as food. What is even more interesting is that Mediterranean populations did not discover this through experiments or clinical trials, they lived it. Generation after generation used olive oil as a daily staple, not realizing that science would one day confirm its wide ranging biological effects. Today, researchers are identifying what they call a synergistic effect, where multiple compounds in olive oil work together, amplifying each other's impact inside the body. This is not just fat content we are talking about. It is a complex mixture of monounsaturated fats, especially oleic acid, along with more than 30 different phenolic compounds that interact with human biology in powerful ways. However, there is a critical detail that most people overlook, and it completely determines whether olive oil actually works for health or becomes just another empty calorie. Not all olive oil is the same. In fact, the majority of what is sold in stores has been refined, processed, or mixed in ways that strip away its beneficial compounds. Only extra virgin olive oil, extracted through cold pressing without heat or chemical treatment, retains the full spectrum of bioactive nutrients that give it its health effects. Once heat is introduced or the oil is heavily processed, many of these sensitive compounds break down, leaving behind something far less powerful. Scientific analysis published in journals like the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that high quality extra virgin olive oil can contain up to 30 times more polyphenols than standard olive oil. These polyphenols, including compounds such as oleocanthal and oleurapine, are responsible for many of the anti inflammatory and antioxidant actions observed in studies. Even more importantly, these compounds are fat soluble, meaning they are absorbed efficiently when consumed naturally as part of the oil itself. This is why supplements attempting to isolate these compounds often fail to replicate the full effect because the body absorbs them best in their original natural form. This also helps explain why populations that regularly consume high quality olive oil tend to show lower rates of chronic disease and longer life expectancy. It is not one single factor, but a consistent biological influence over time affecting inflammation levels, blood vessel function, digestion, and cellular health all at once. The effects are not dramatic in a single moment, but they begin quickly and build progressively with continued use. But before going further into what happens inside the body over time, it is important to understand something fundamental. The quality of the oil determines whether any of these effects actually occur. If the oil is old, refined, or mixed with lower grade oils, then the beneficial compounds are largely absent. In that case, what you are consuming is essentially just processed fat without the therapeutic properties that science has been studying. This distinction is crucial because everything that follows in the body depends on this first choice. The wrong type of oil removes the effect entirely, while the right type activates a chain reaction inside the body that researchers are only now beginning to fully map. And once that high quality extra virgin olive oil enters the body consistently, something very specific begins to happen almost immediately at the cellular level. Within just a few hours of consuming high quality extra virgin olive oil, the body begins to shift in ways that are not visible on the surface, but are measurable at the biological level. One of the first systems to respond is inflammation control. Inflammation is not always harmful. Your body uses it as a defense mechanism, but when it becomes chronic, it silently contributes to heart disease, diabetes, joint problems, and even cognitive decline. What makes olive oil interesting is that it appears to influence this system almost immediately after consumption. The key compound involved in this early response is oleocanthal, a natural phenolic compound found only in extra virgin olive oil. Scientists have observed that its mechanism of action resembles that of certain anti inflammatory medications, particularly in how it interacts with inflammatory pathways in the body. But unlike pharmaceutical drugs that can irritate the stomach or strain the kidneys with long term use, olive oil works gently while also providing protective effects to tissues rather than damaging them. Clinical studies have shown measurable reductions in inflammatory markers such as C reactive protein, interleukin, 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha after regular intake of extra virgin olive oil. These are not abstract numbers, they are the same markers doctors use to assess risk for chronic diseases. Even small daily amounts, sometimes as little as 1 teaspoon, can begin influencing these pathways over time. What is particularly notable is that this early reduction in inflammation is not limited to blood markers alone. Many people report subtle physical changes within the first day or two, such as reduced stiffness in joints or a lighter feeling in the body. While subjective experiences vary, the biological explanation is linked to how these compounds interact with inflammatory signaling pathways and, in some cases, may even influence neuroinflammation due to their ability to cross protective barriers in the brain. By the second day, the effects begin to extend beyond inflammation and move into cardiovascular function. This is where olive oil starts to influence one of the most critical systems in the human body, the heart and blood vessels. The monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, begin to adjust lipid metabolism. This does not mean an overnight transformation of cholesterol levels, but rather a gradual shift in how fats are processed and transported in the bloodstream. Research published in major medical journals has observed that regular consumption of extra virgin olive oil can support increases in HDL cholesterol, often referred to as good cholesterol, while reducing the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, which is the form more strongly associated with arterial damage. Oxidized LDL is particularly harmful because it contributes to plaque formation inside arteries, a key factor in atherosclerosis. At the same time, olive oil appears to support endothelial function. The endothelium is the thin inner lining of blood vessels, and it plays a major role in regulating blood flow, pressure, and clotting. When this lining is healthy, blood vessels remain flexible and responsive. When it is damaged, circulation becomes restricted and cardiovascular risk increases. Studies have shown that compounds in olive oil can enhance the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that helps blood vessels relax and expand. This process improves circulation efficiency and reduces strain on the heart. Within 48 hours of consistent intake, some individuals show measurable improvements in vascular flexibility and blood pressure regulation, even without changing any other part of their diet. What makes this even more significant is that these cardiovascular improvements do not depend on extreme lifestyle changes. Even when individuals maintain their usual eating habits, the addition of a small daily amount of extra virgin olive oil has been associated with noticeable improvements in heart related biomarkers. This suggests that its effect is additive rather than restrictive. It works alongside normal nutrition rather than requiring a complete dietary overhaul. By the end of the second day, the body is no longer responding in just one system. Inflammation is being modulated, blood vessel function is improving, and lipid processing is beginning to shift. These changes are still early and subtle, but they form the foundation for the more visible transformations that begin to appear as the days continue. By the third day, the effects of extra virgin olive oil begin to move deeper into systems that most people rarely associate with daily nutrition yet they influence nearly every aspect of health, the digestive system, and the gut microbiome. What starts as a simple dietary addition begins to reshape the internal environment where trillions of microorganisms live, interact, and directly affect immunity, mood, and metabolism. The first noticeable shift happens in digestion. Olive oil has a mild lubricating effect on the digestive tract, which can support smoother bowel movements and reduce occasional constipation. But the more important change is not mechanical, it is biological. The compounds inside extra virgin olive oil begin interacting with gut bacteria, slowly influencing which species thrive and which decline. Research published in nutrition science journals has shown that regular intake of extra virgin olive oil supports the growth of beneficial bacteria such as bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These microorganisms are associated with improved digestion, better immune regulation, and reduced inflammation. At the same time, harmful bacteria linked to gut irritation and chronic inflammation tend to decrease in activity when olive oil becomes a consistent part of the diet. This shift does not happen overnight, but within roughly 72 hours, early changes in the microbiome environment can already be observed. The polyphenols in olive oil act in a prebiotic like manner, meaning they serve as fuel for beneficial bacteria. Unlike typical fiber based prebiotics, these compounds are absorbed and processed in a way that allows them to influence gut ecology more selectively and efficiently. As the microbiome begins to adjust, the body also improves how it handles nutrients from food. Olive oil stimulates bile production, which is essential for breaking down dietary fats and absorbing fat soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. This means that as digestion improves, so does the body's ability to extract nutrition from everything else you eat. In simple terms, olive oil doesn't just add benefits on its own, it enhances the value of your entire diet. By this stage, many people begin noticing practical changes, such as reduced bloating, less discomfort after meals, and a more stable digestive rhythm. These effects are often subtle but consistent, reflecting the gradual reduction of low grade inflammation in the intestinal lining. The gut is also closely connected to the immune system, and this is where the impact becomes even more important. A significant portion of immune activity is regulated in the digestive tract, meaning that changes in gut bacteria directly influence how the immune system behaves. As olive oil supports a healthier microbial balance, it indirectly contributes to a more stable and balanced immune response. There is also growing evidence linking gut health improvements to mental well being. The gut and brain communicate constantly through what is known as the gut brain axis. When inflammation in the gut decreases and beneficial bacteria increase, some individuals report improvements in mood stability, reduced irritability, and better mental clarity. While these effects vary, the biological connection is well established in research. Another important aspect of this stage is the protective effect on the stomach lining. Studies have shown that extra virgin olive oil may help reduce the presence of harmful bacteria such as Helicobacter pylori, which is associated with ulcers and long term gastric issues. At the same time, its anti inflammatory properties help protect and soothe the stomach lining, reducing irritation over time. By the end of the third day, the digestive system is no longer functioning in isolation. It is now part of a wider network of changes affecting immunity, nutrient absorption, and even neurological signaling. What began as a simple dietary habit is now influencing the internal ecosystem that supports nearly every major system in the body. By the fourth day, the changes driven by extra virgin olive oil begin to show themselves in a more visible and physical way, particularly in the skin and overall appearance. While earlier effects were mostly internal and biochemical, this stage starts to reflect how deeply those internal shifts are now influencing outward health. Skin is often considered a mirror of internal inflammation, hydration, and nutrient balance. As olive oils, polyphenols, and healthy fats continue circulating through the body, they begin to support the skin's structural integrity from within. One of the key components involved here is vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that helps protect skin cells from oxidative stress caused by pollution, sunlight, and normal metabolic activity. At the same time, oleic acid, the primary monounsaturated fat in olive oil, plays a structural role in maintaining the skin barrier. Interestingly, this fatty acid is also naturally present in human skin oils, which is one reason olive oil is so biologically compatible with the body. As internal levels rise through diet, the skin gradually benefits from improved moisture retention and barrier strength. Clinical dermatology research has associated regular olive oil consumption with improvements in skin hydration and elasticity over time. While dramatic overnight changes are not realistic, subtle improvements can begin within a few days of consistent intake, especially in individuals with low dietary fat intake or mild skin dryness. Hair health can also begin to show early signs of improvement at this stage. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to nutrient delivery through the bloodstream. As circulation and antioxidant levels improve due to olive oil consumption, follicles receive better support. Vitamin E contributes to reduced oxidative stress around the scalp, while improved fat metabolism supports healthier sebum balance. This can result in a gradual improvement in shine, texture, and reduced brittleness. Beyond appearance, the anti inflammatory effects that began in earlier days continue to expand their influence. Conditions linked to chronic inflammation, including mild eczema or irritation based skin sensitivity, may begin to show slight calming effects as internal inflammatory signaling becomes more regulated. These changes are not a cure, but they reflect a more balanced internal environment. By the fifth day, the impact shifts toward one of the most sensitive and complex organs in the human body, the brain. This is where the effects of extra virgin olive oil become particularly interesting from a scientific perspective because the compounds involved are able to interact directly with neurological processes. Certain polyphenols in olive oil are capable of crossing the blood brain barrier, a protective filter that regulates what enters the brain from the bloodstream. Once inside, these compounds begin interacting with pathways linked to inflammation and oxidative stress in neural tissue. Chronic low level inflammation in the brain is increasingly recognized as a contributing factor in cognitive decline, memory issues, and neurodegenerative conditions. Research has suggested that extra virgin olive oil may support the clearance of abnormal protein buildup associated with diseases like Alzheimer's. While it is not a treatment or cure, its neuroprotective potential lies in reducing oxidative damage and supporting healthier cellular function in brain tissue. At this stage, many people report noticeable mental changes such as improved focus, clearer thinking, and a more stable mood. These effects are connected to reduced neuroinflammation and improved signaling between neurons. The healthy fats in olive oil also support the production of brain derived neurotrophic factor, a protein involved in the growth and maintenance of brain cells, which is important for learning and memory. Sleep patterns may also begin to improve around this time. As inflammation decreases and metabolic stability improves, the body's natural hormone regulation can become more balanced. Better sleep further reinforces cognitive improvements, creating a feedback loop between rest, brain function, and overall recovery. By the sixth day, attention shifts toward metabolic regulation, particularly blood sugar control. This is where olive oil demonstrates one of its most practical, everyday benefits. The monounsaturated fats help slow the absorption of carbohydrates, reducing sudden spikes in blood glucose after meals. At the same time, polyphenols appear to improve insulin sensitivity, allowing cells to respond more effectively to insulin signals. This means that energy levels become more stable throughout the day. Instead of sharp peaks and crashes, the body maintains a more consistent fuel supply. Some studies have shown that adding olive oil to carbohydrate containing meals can significantly reduce post meal glucose spikes, even without altering the meal itself. Appetite regulation also begins to shift at this stage. Healthy fats contribute to the release of satiety hormones that signal fullness to the brain. As a result, many people naturally experience reduced cravings and feel satisfied with smaller portions. This is not forced restriction, but a physiological response to improved hormonal signaling. By the seventh day, the effects reach a deeper systemic level involving liver function and cellular protection. The liver plays a central role in detoxification and fat metabolism, and olive oil's antioxidant compounds help reduce oxidative stress on liver cells while supporting more efficient processing of fats. Research has shown that regular consumption of extra virgin olive oil may help reduce fat accumulation in the liver, a condition commonly known as fatty liver disease. This occurs through improved fat metabolism and reduced inflammation within liver tissue. At a cellular level, oxidative stress markers begin to decrease as antioxidant compounds neutralize free radicals throughout the body. This reduction in cellular damage supports improved energy production and overall physiological efficiency, Many individuals report a general sense of increased vitality and reduced fatigue by this stage. The immune system also benefits from this cumulative effect. Instead of reacting in an overactive or imbalanced way, immune responses become more regulated, reducing unnecessary